property, I do not hesitate to shoot them. And I will continue to do that if necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment?
I'm Jim Zook, town chairman for County Grove, and I've dealt with autos for my 10 to 12 years being on the board. Number one, this is not a come lately deal, it's generational. I'm 60-some years old. The autos have always had too many dogs. I've dealt with them on a personal matter. We rent a pasture next to Laura Duggar over there. We had them chase our cattle out on the road. Now what happens when my cattle are on the road chased by auto dogs? Numerous phone calls to the sheriff's department, animal control, nothing gets done. When is something gonna get done? What happens if a dog bites somebody? Now, kennel license, we looked at town board meeting. They got a list of dogs this long that have their dog license for. How many of you people been in your yard? How many dogs are there?
23.
I've been in there surrounded by dogs. They're not friendly.
Some of them are, but that's besides the point, yeah.
Right.
There's
But
23.
the moral of the story is, what's gonna happen when somebody bites them, something like that? Like I said, I'm the town chairman, I get calls constantly from Terry, another constituent there. And we refer to the sheriff's department, the animal control, and they were out Saturday, was it Saturday?
Oh, it's.
They were out all day
quite a bit.
Saturday,
And after I
and
reported
neighbors
it-
sending pictures, there's a dead deer carcass there. And, they're not on their property, and it's just one question. Why? Why does this continue? And on another subject, another problem in our, can I talk about that, Terry?
Yes, you have 2 minutes left.
Oh. The other problem I have all the time, or phone calls, is animals on the road on County P. And supposedly, supposed to be looking into, we called the sheriff's department many times, animal control, yada, yada, nothing happens. So before I came in this morning, I know this cow's been laying there dead now for over 2 weeks. You can see it from Highway P if you wanna drive out there. I drove out there just now, took a picture. She's laying there, dead. Now I farm on Highway P. If I had an animal like that, I'd be over here in this place. But nothing happens to these people. When is something gonna get done? When is somebody gonna do their job? It's called animal control. When is somebody gonna say enough is enough? And, you know, pictures, everyone says take pictures. You got so many pictures that isn't even funny. What do? Nothing, because nothing ever gets done. You wanna see the picture?
Not
So-
ready.
Like I said, it's been going on for the dog situation probably 40 years. Brian, you've been, I mean, as kids, we were scared to go down Prairie Road because of the dogs. It doesn't end. When is it gonna end? That's my question to you. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comment?
I'll just say, it is on the agenda, so we'll be able to discuss this at length further on, correct?
Well, to a certain extent, yes, but you want to do something now, this is public comment for the public. Otherwise, it's normally limited to the committee members, but we can call on people to get amplification.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I'm Laura Dutter Nelson, and I've lived in the township of Grove my whole life. I've lived at my current address at N3096 Marshall Road for 28 years, probably. And yeah, I've dealt with this a long time. I don't even know what to say anymore. It is an ongoing problem, and it's just sad because I love animals. I actually have an animal science degree from UW River Falls, so I actually have an education in animal care and whatnot. So I think I'm not unqualified to explain that even if animals were, if you did get the license, you did get them vaccinated, the simple thing is they're out there off the owner's property, on other people's property, and they're trespassing. I have pictures, and I don't know, I expect a fine. I have pictures for multiple days within the last month. So I would expect a fine for each day they are off their property. I don't know how that works, but if I had my animals roaming, I certainly would get a fine. And I do have a lot of, messages from people in the area, explaining their situations with me. And 2 points I wanna bring up for you to consider is, first of all, we have the county dog tax to pay for dog damage. As a child, my rabbits were killed at my house from the Otto's dogs. They were trapped in the animal cages at the time. The town of Grove chairman and whatnot came over and they shot the dogs in my rabbit cages. And that was traumatizing as a child to wake up and see rabbits dead all over the yard that I bred. And later on, my children's 4-H goats, one was gonna have her baby and my other one, they were chained up, and in the middle of the night, these dogs came and were fighting our dog under our bedroom door, our window. My husband went out with a gun and he actually shot one of the dogs, but by that time they had killed the 2 goats and bit him in the neck and literally left them to die there. And I did take that to the county board and I did get paid animal damages. And I want you to consider how much you pay for animal damages. It was $200. And now if say a cow was killed, that a cow could be worth $4,000. How would that impact local farmers or whatnot? Because $200 doesn't go very far towards an animal kill. So I suggest another thing is to revisit how much is paid on that. And my last comment is, I think that the county is setting themselves up for a liable situation. If those dogs are on the road and someone hits one or tries to avoid it and has an accident and God forbid is injured or killed, I believe that since the county's been on notice for so long about this situation, that they could be involved in a lawsuit if something like that would happen. So you have to, as a county taxpayer, I take this stuff pretty serious, and I think that I expect people that are paid through my tax monies to do their job.
Okay, I'm
And-
sorry, your time is up.
Okay, thank
Your 3 minutes are up. Any more public comments? Ryan?
I'm Brian Coggins, supervisor for District 10, and these people are constituents in my district. I wanna thank you for putting these items on the agenda today. I would also like to request that, I know that the 3 county supervisors who are here, Tom's here. I know you all received a letter from my son pertaining to this, and I would request that one of you read that letter today during this public comment period. I know he emailed you a letter last evening. I spoke to him.
I got it.
Okay. This has been an ongoing thing, as Jim spoke to, as Laura did, as Ms. Grodhausen did. It's ridiculous. And as a county, as a committee, we need to find out a way to deal with this. People shouldn't have to be worried about walking down the road or being in their yard or having pets on their own property when somebody else can't control what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment?
I guess I'll go. I'll read this later if I have time, but I was asked to read it, but I have my own comments to make. It's an email you guys received this morning, not from Mr. Zook's son, but from a gentleman named Mr. Flood, who also lives over there, who has an issue. So if I have time, I'll read that later. If you'll give me his 3 minutes to do it, I will. This situation's been going on for a long time, and I know it doesn't solely fall on Dawn. I mean, we've had how many managers in the past who have, well, the first one, she did a mass sterilization on that property probably 15 years ago now. I think I was in high school when that took place. And dogs get missed, And I know you can say that there's only 23 dogs on that property, but that's bullshit, and we all know it. Because they thought they got them all the last time too. People actually have been dumping new dogs there. I heard there's, pit bulls now, and then some other form of a collie, not the ones that are standard there for the last 30 years. And you can say you're getting stuff done, but you're not. And I know that was said in a meeting before, that the other ones didn't get it done, but you weren't either. And I guess the other issue I have is that this most recent mass sterilization was done without prior approval. The usage of the county vehicle to transport Mr. Otto's dogs was not pre-approved. That is inappropriate use of county resources for other than county business. Why are we the taxpayers paying to transport this guy's dogs to and from their appointments? The dogs were picked up a day before and housed at the Rusk County Animal Shelter, taking up valuable kennel space, as you guys call it. And he wasn't charged a single dime for any of it. So now you have employee time, county resources, food, water. And when I looked into it, out of the 23 dogs that were fixed and then licensed by a donor, 16 of those dogs weren't charged the late fee for licensing, which is a Wisconsin state statute, so that's bullshit. Pardon my language, but, you know, this has been going on far too long, and again, it's not solely on Dawn, but to say the situation is, I don't know, proper word, rectified or whatever, is bullshit. There's more dogs out there that aren't fixed. And I'm just disgusted that we, the taxpayers, paid to transport his dogs. It's one thing to acquire the donations to have them sterilized, but why did we, the taxpayers, have to pay to transport them? That just shows what kind of animal owner he is. That's not a taxpayer problem, and that needs to be addressed. Because any other county employee who would use a vehicle for something other than county business would have a write-up or be fired.
Any further public comment? Any more public comment?
Yes, I don't even know what to say, because what I had written down, isn't exactly what I'd like to say now. There are processes to make complaints, and that's good that you have done photography and gone through processes, and I totally empathize with trying to walk when there are dogs loose or drive or any of that. I am bothered by people going on social media and perhaps stirring up more anger and actually having misinformation put out there too. And I'm wondering whether some of it is because of this perceived, someone in particular's perceived mishandling of how the problem has been handled in the past. I want to work for solutions too, and we need to do this in a reasonable way with reasonable suggestions. And I would also like to, excuse me, talk about the boarded, so-called boarded animals at the shelter. Do the people actually know why and when they ended up at the shelter, and why are they still there? The situation is complicated because Dawn has to work within the state statutes for humane officers and within legal requirements of the local court system that the dog's owners is currently involved with. Dawn knows how to work within the law and do her job. She is entitled to be treated with respect, just as all of us are here expect to be treated respectfully about our work or our needs. And we need to be civil to one another, and some of that has not happened. This season of Christmas, when we talk about peace, joy, and love, let's try harder to actually live those words. Who do you want to be? The problem maker who criticizes and tries to tear down what exists, or the problem solver who tries to improve situations with reasonable suggestions, solutions, or voluntary help? Before we make all kinds of nasty remarks or complaints, let's think about who are we? Who are you? And how do you want to be remembered?
Okay, time's up. Thank you. Any more public comment?
Do you go back to people or no?
No. It's limited to 3 minutes.
Alright, thank you.
Any more public comment? Again, any more public comment? Okay, public comment is closed.
Those things.
Okay, moving on to the first,
Excuse,
first,
Time out.
will my son's letter get read?
You guys like to hear, cause we didn't, Randy and I didn't get a copy of it.
I will say that sending it,
That was the only way he could voice public comment at this meeting.
And it is a matter of public record.
and waiting until the last minute to insert this, I will say, better planning would have been appreciated until dropping this at 11:06 last night, when we don't even have a chance to read it or look at it first. That is not the way things are done. That's why we have an agenda. The agenda is posted 2 or 3 days ahead of time.
It's a public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have it?
I don't. If I did, I would read it.
I can read it if you approve it. Shouldn't be approved, it's public comment.
While we close public comment, I will open it up again, 3 minutes. Do you wanna read it?
Sure.
I have it here, I pulled it up. I noticed there's a couple other things that came in last night.
So, a letter from Adam Coggins, to whom it may. Hello, my name is Adam Coggins, and I'm a resident of Grove Township. My address is N4181 County Road I, Tony. I was contacted by one of my neighbors asking if I could share some of my experiences regarding the auto dogs in the neighborhood. I bear no ill will towards the autos, but like many of my neighbors agree that their pet dogs are out of control and are a black mark in the neighborhood. I believe that anyone who wants pets is responsible should by all means have the right to keep and own pets. What has been going on for years, there is no responsible pet ownership. Most people who own 8, 10, or even 15 dogs are generally hound hunters. Outside of hunting or training season, do you ever really see any hounds at large? No. That's because they keep them contained on their own property, either by kennels or tied up. This is because they know that neighbors would appreciate their properties and neighborhood being roamed by loose dogs. Would not appreciate their properties and neighborhood being roamed by loose dogs. This, however, is not the case in the town of Grow at the Otto residence. For years, they've owned who knows how many dogs at the same time, who seem to come and go whenever they please. Many of them are not overly friendly if you come in close contact with. This really isn't an issue if they're in their own yard, but quite a few neighbors enjoy walking their own dogs on leashes, running, and biking up and down County I, some of whom are younger kids. This is a popular crossing for these packs of dogs. I hate to see one of these people chased or bitten if they met the wrong group of dogs or dog. Another incident I've encountered is driving down County I and having all these dogs in or crossing the road. It's very common for them to cut across the main creek and then across I, headed into either Stutzman's or Nelson's pastures. One day I came through the S-curves heading south on a group of about 6 dogs came out of the ditch from Stutzman's pasture. It happened fast, but I was not going to swerve into the ditch and risk my safety. As a result, 1 dog died and at least 2 were limping badly from that group. I felt bad, but just think if that was someone else who instinctively swerved and as a result lost control and caused a bad accident. It's not safe for people or animals. This has been an ongoing issue for years in the neighborhood. Multiple neighbors have had cattle run through the fences, good fences. If you think a dog will put a dent in your bumper, imagine what a 1,400-pound cow will do. Not to mention, if that were to happen, when it was all said and done, the farmer would be the one getting an animal at large ticket for his cow on the road. How is that right? Besides cows, many people have witnessed these dogs running deer. If you've ever been around deer hunters, you'll know that dogs running deer is one of the cardinal sins that is rarely tolerated if a gun is available. I even talked with one neighbor who said he was surrounded by one of these rogue packs and backed right out of his own woods one night while trying to bow hunt. Bottom line is the neighborhood has had enough after years of this going on. We want better and we want responsibility and accountability. I trust you will do what's needed to improve our community. Thank you for your time and action, Adam Coggins. And he's got a PS. I would like this letter to be read out loud at the meeting regarding this topic tomorrow. 12/19/24, thank you. And I just read it.
Okay, that should in, under public comment. Okay, public comment is now closed. Again. First thing on the agenda is animals at large. And I just,
I would like to,
okay,
since it is about me.
this, well,
It's about as the humane officer. So let me just start, okay? I've never met either one of you guys. I've never talked to you on the phone. I've never gotten a complaint from anybody that works or is on any kind of chairman, supervisor from the town of Grove, not one. And I've been at the shelter for 2 years. Carrie Gruhausen has called me twice, once last winter when the dogs were out, and just, a week and a half ago, I think, on a Friday. Laura sent me a Facebook page of one of his dogs on the road. That's all the complaints I have ever gotten from
On
the
my
auto
property,
farm.
sorry, I have to correct that, cause that was inaccurate.
What's inaccurate?
The
Sent a
dog was
Facebook
in my
message?
cow pasture on my property.
The
I
picture
need
you
to
sent was
clarify.
from another woman that seen the dog in the road and asked who the dog was. That's the picture I got. That's the picture I downloaded to my computer, and that's when I called, cause usually I make a phone call first, and then he called me back. I also sent a warning letter. So those are the only 3 complaints I've gotten in 2 years. That's it. So, if you don't call me, I have no idea what's going on. I was at the farm 6 months ago, doing a head count, which is what I always do. Him and I have an understanding. No more dogs. They all have to have food, water, shelter, straw. He has done that. They have to be licensed, rabies vaccinated. He has a kennel license. I'm not saying he should have 23 dogs, but I will tell you what. There's a lot of people in Russ County that have more dogs than him. A lot more. That are not kennel licensed, that are not fixed. None of them. I don't agree his dogs are off his property. I just talked to him again and I said, we gotta do something about this. The only thing that I can do about it is if he makes some kind of makeshift, fence, they're not gonna stay in that. There's no way. Or I go out there and I convince him to surrender the dogs, which he does not have to do. The dogs are not abused. The dogs were seen by a vet. They were all in good weight. They all have nice coats. They don't have fleas. They don't have any wounds that I could see on them. No, they're not friendly because they're semi-feral. I can't adopt them out. I've taken over 80-some dogs off that property since I've been here. That cost the shelter a lot more money, and it's been going on for how many years? 20, 30, 40, 60 dogs every year before I even got there? I had them all fixed and removed within 6 months of me working there. No more puppies, period. He's not allowed. If he does anything that violates anything I asked him to do, they're out. They will all be euthanized. That will also cost the county money, because he doesn't have money for that. So, 60 dogs a year, 60 to 80 dogs a year off that property costs the county of Russ a lot more than us driving them there. Which, every single week when we took those dogs, I told the board, every week they knew exactly what I was doing. Nobody said a word until after the fact, okay? So, if you want me to write him a citation, I need photographic evidence, current, not 30 years ago, not 2 months ago, not 2 weeks ago, current. Otherwise, if I send him a citation, he can go to court and say, not my dog, where's the picture? Then he's off, he doesn't pay for that. I have to follow the laws. I cannot go on his property unless his dogs are starving, need medical assistance immediately. It's against the law. That is theft. I can't do that. If he doesn't want me on his property, he doesn't have to let me on his property. And he has been compliant, and he has done everything I've asked him to do. I realize the dog should not be coming off the property. I get it.
Shouldn't they get a ticket for that though? Animals
I
at large?
have, when it first happens, I've got one photo, one. It goes the same for everybody. Now, if his dogs came off his property and attacked somebody's cow, and they're like calling me, and the police are there, and I see the dogs, and I see the cow, or the sheep, or the goat, and I can see it with my own eyes, absolutely, we would have a major problem, because then they're killing things.
Do
I
they
haven't
have-
got anything out of that, no photos, no
Should they have to
nothing.
be, should they have to kill an animal or a person before they get a citation?
But I
isn't
have to
there-
have a picture.
So if they get pictures for you,
If
recent
I get,
pictures,
yes, absolutely, current pictures to my cell phone. If you email somebody else, I haven't gotten any complaints from the sheriff department about his farm, none. And they always send me stuff. Any complaints they get when I'm either off or not around, that all gets forwarded to me. Right now, I have 31 complaints, 31. 23 of those are open. And open means I'm still dealing with them. I'm one person. I don't get help from nobody. I'm the only humane officer. I also manage the shelter. I'm also a certified veterinary technician, okay? So I can tell if an animal is not doing well. I wouldn't let my animals live outside like that, but when it's going on 20, 30 years and that's what's been going on, I can't adopt those. The animals that were left on that farm were animals I could not adopt, okay? And none of them were ever aggressive to me. Now, that's not to say I know, I believe me, because I've seen them. Also, if there's any dogs dumped on that property, the dogs on that property would not allow that. They would probably kill a dog that was dumped. And there are only 23 dogs, believe me. A head count gets done. I went there last time and did a head count. Nicole and I made absolutely 100% sure there's no more dogs out there. And when I'm talking anxiety, losing sleep at night, because I didn't want to deal with any more puppies. And neither did the owner. He didn't want all those dogs either. And when I went out there the first time I went out there, first time I met him, there was puppies everywhere, and I just told him, I said, I'm taking them. All the puppies, anybody that is a juvenile, that is little, they're gone. 26 dogs I removed off that property. The rest of them were all adults. There are no dogs under the age of probably 4, maybe 3. And there's dogs that are up to 10 and 12 years old on that property. Okay, and when a veterinarian tells me they're in good health, that's it. There's nothing I can do, except write citations for animals at large. But I can't do that without proof. So, I am doing my job, and I'm doing it, at least there's no puppies. I mean, at least there's not that. Now, if he's got a dead cow on his property, is that what you said, he's got a dead cow? Or that's someone else? Oh, and I don't know about that guy either. I mean, I know from last year, but I've got no complaints
Are
about
you
him
doing
either.
a follow-up on them though?
Yeah, well, they're in my thing, last time I was there, everything was good.
How long ago was
So
that?
now, that was 6 months, maybe 8 months?
'Cause some of those cows were looking pretty rough this summer, I noticed.
Well, somebody has to call me, like I said, I'm
No,
one
doesn't always-
person.
Doesn't always work though when we call you.
That's not true.
Dawn, I've called you about some dogs in town, but nothing's happened.
That's not true. Yes,
Can I respond?
Yes,
You've been there for 2 years, that's right. Who was the one before, what was her name?
Karen Welke.
Karen Wilkie. You know, when you beat your head against the wall, all you do is get sore head. And I'm talking about this situation, that you don't wanna see that picture. We call the cops, you get tired of calling the cops every time the cows are on your property. You get tired of calling with
whose
a,
cows?
Pet case.
Then call me, why is nobody calling me? I'm the humane
you get
officer.
tired of it, nothing ever happens.
I've never got a phone call.
That's great, like I said, you
She's
just get
new.
tired, you get worn out, you get tired, dogs get tired,
Can't
call
do
the
anything
cops,
without a phone
nothing
call.
happens. They come out, nothing happens. So, in fairness to you, yeah, you've been there for 2 years. But this, like I said, this problem's been going on for generations.
my
This
problem.
problem's been going on.
My problem is what's happening now. So if you have a complaint about Hetke's Farm, please send me an email with photographs and I will go out there. I have no issue. writing citations. I have no issue taking people's animals from them if they need to be taken from them. I have no issue with that. None. But I have to stay within the law. I can't just,
And you gotta give her
You
a
probably better
chance.
go take a walk around, cause things are looking pretty rough, cause they don't have any feed and they're,
At
we
Henry's
knew this
Farm?
cow was gonna die a month ago, cause she was standing right next to Highway P, and I told the veterinarian, I told my boys, I said, that red cow is gonna be dead. Sure enough, she
Well,
made it over to
you
Coleman
have to
Road and
call
died,
me.
but you get tired of calling, cause nothing happens. That's what I'm saying, and that's not against you, I'm just saying, nothing happens.
I don't think that's quite true, because 2 years ago, there were complaints and we had picked, in fact, your son came and they went out there and did an investigation, the district attorney investigated and everything, and stuff was done and they had to comply. And I believe,
Is this compliant, Terry?
they did,
Is
but
this
this is the
compliant?
problem,
Do you
listen.
has she been notified of that or a picture sent?
Sorry.
Don't leave.
No,
You're just gonna give
as
up.
you say, getting nowhere.
Dawn, I have a question.
That is part of the problem. You've got
Yes,
people
Steve.
like that who gets excited, and how is Don supposed to do something if it's not reported? He's going back 30 years,
Exactly.
forget 30 years. We're dealing with 2024 now, moving into 2025. Water under the bridge.
That dead cow, the new dead cow is in the water under the bridge, that's a new cow though.
Has he sent a picture?
No, he hasn't, but
Well,
okay, Dawn, I have a
he's
question,
been
here,
done.
hold on. Dawn, I have a question, should they send it to, don't,
You watch it
should they,
too.
why?
Now, continue with your thing, but watch it.
Don't point your finger at me or
I'm
your
not
pencil.
pointing your finger,
Your
I'm
pencil.
pointing my pencil.
Well, don't point your pencil either. Dawn, should they send it to your email address?
Send it to my,
Facebook
my
address?
phone, don't send it to Facebook, cause people see, that's not.
Well, I mean the messenger,
No, cause people see that.
the
Send
messenger,
it right to my phone bill, right to my phone.
and that phone number there is
Yep, it's
out there. for-
online,
okay,
it's,
just
yep,
wanna make sure.
yep, that's
So
all
if
they
anybody
gotta
calls
do.
me
In
about it.
fact, I'll just run out there today. I mean, I'm short an employee. I think people really don't understand, when I have 23 open complaints, and these are not animals at large. These are everything.
Mistreated,
Everything. I have 12 animals at the shelter that I seized, that we are, and I don't know if this boarding of animals, I'm not boarding that woman's animals, I seized them. Seizure means I took them because they needed medical treatment immediately.
That's another topic.
It is,
Yeah,
but
we'll come
anyways.
on, we'll get to that.
Animals at large, I just would like to say, animals at large,
Jerry, here's the audience.
animals at large is not animal abuse as described in Wisconsin state statutes. Chapter 951, crimes against animals, that's not animals at large. It's an ordinance violation, which is state statute 174, dogs. No proof, no citation, period. You can complain about 30 years all you want, I was not here. I did what I needed to do to stop the puppies,
As soon as she
period,
got here.
because the shelter could not even care for all those puppies. So right now we got another problem, don't we? His dogs are at large, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go talk to Gary, and I'm gonna say, hey, either you give some of them to me, surrender, 10 of them, 20, all 23, I don't care. I will euthanize them all. That's the only choice I have, period. So then what's gonna happen next? Now, we ain't gonna make a no-kill shelter status because all his dogs, which I will have to euthanize. What do you, there's 23 dogs, what do you want me to do with them? Adopt them out?
If they're feral, they shouldn't be adopted or even semi-feral, yes, you
Yes,
should
they
put
need
them
to be
down.
euthanized,
But if
absolutely.
it gets,
He
what's,
has no money, so is that gonna
but
come at me?
Dawn, you made
$50
the
bucks
com,
to euthanasia, cremation, $50 for cremation, what's
no, you made the
50
com,
times 23, no, it's 100 times 23, I don't know, that's a couple $1,000, probably $1,000, 900, 500, county's paying it.
Okay, let's
Okay,
get
and
back.
that's all I'm gonna
let's-
say about the
let's-
auto
let's-
dogs.
Let's get back on the topic. Right?
I would just like to say, I don't think people are trying to blame Dawn in this situation.
100%.
That may be what's being perceived, but there's a bigger problem here. I know that Mr. Zook has called the sheriff's department in recent time. There's not the communication. I don't believe they are reporting everything to you.
And they may not be, and that's,
And that's a bigger problem that the county needs to address. So I just want that out there. And the other thing is, I believe that a lot of people honestly don't know what the right procedure is when they have a complaint. So I just want that out there. Possibly something on the website, the animal shelter website.
There is, if
Good.
you have an animal at large, or you are,
For,
for animal cruelty or whatever, it has my cell phone number on there, that's who or if I'm not around, they call the sheriff's department. And I would say, I gotta say like 90% of it, I mean, and maybe I'm wrong, but most of the time I get the complaints from
So-
the sheriff's department. So either there might be somebody that doesn't know they're supposed to forward them to me, that is a definite possibility. But I
What-
have no issue,
what is the procedure? Okay, so if you get a complaint about these dogs,
first,
what is the procedure?
First
First time,
complaint.
second time?
yeah, first complaint, it depends on the situation. If somebody's dog's at large for the first time and goes to the neighbor's house and kills a rabbit, that's an automatic citation.
Period.
And then that person will have to do whatever they do to get their money back.
Okay,
If the dog's at large, just, one time, didn't hurt nobody, didn't do anything, went back, that's usually a written warning. I usually call people and do a written warning, so that's normally what I would do, so it does depend. But after the second time, citations, I'll just keep giving them.
so
But
now
you have
once,
to have photographic evidence with
so if
time
you,
and date.
if you were to issue a citation today, hypothetically.
Yep.
And you received another complaint from somebody else the following day, what
Or a
happens then?
They'll get another one.
Okay, so it continues, it's,
It will continue every time I get a complaint until they fix the problem.
okay.
There's no deadline.
There's 10 days, I have 10 days to write a
No, but
citation.
I mean, so if, from when they get the first complaint, it's like a complaint, let's say it's not.
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay, so it's an
not that I'm
ongoing.
aware of.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted some
You're welcome.
clarification.
Brian, is this your first meeting with animal control?
It is,
Okay, I just wanna make a statement.
it's a bad time for me,
No, I get
I've
it.
got a vacation day today, that's why I can be here,
I get it,
otherwise.
and to make a statement that's saying that you don't believe Dawn has been personally attacked is misinformation. Without attending every meeting, you don't understand how many times she is attacked.
I just meant
I
today,
just want that to be out there,
I get that,
okay?
thank you.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, so I did, go to the animal shelter and showed the picture of the dog in my cattle pasture. And okay, I'm a single widow woman with a 240 acre farm with beef cattle, meat goats, and horses. And I certainly don't need wild feral dogs in my cow pasture. I took a picture, I presented it, and I was told, well, they're healthy and they're fixed and everything. I demand that they get a citation. It's not the first time. I had photographic evidence. I don't know, I believe I followed the protocol, and still, I don't believe they got a citation. And I have more pictures of the days following that. After I reported that, I came to the police department and I spoke with an officer, and I'm gonna go over there and check and see what happened with that complaint. Because I showed him the picture, he took pictures of the pictures I had of them on my property, and he was supposed to contact the animal shelter or animal control. I get a little confused on the verbiage, but so I'm not sure what happened exactly, but I showed it to two people that are the chain of command to handle the situation, and I still don't believe they got a citation. And I have follow-up pictures, and now I hear if it's 2 weeks ago, nothing can be done. Well, how is a taxpayer supposed to accept that answer? And why should we accept that answer? And I don't know what more we can do. I really feel like we're all trying to work with this. I love animals. I don't think that probably giving animals back to an animal hoarding situation helps anyone. The animals for sure, they suffer. They get hit by cars, they get shot, they get whatever. But, and then I heard that we can't, by law, nothing can leave there. Well, puppies were taken, why can't adults be taken? And yes, it is a one-time expense to destroy these animals, but they are not gonna be able to serve anyone as a pet or a hunting animal or anything like that, and they're causing severe problems in our community, and I don't, it's like a double talk, kinda like, oh, I can go in there and take these puppies, but I can't go in there and take these dogs. And if I do, we're not gonna be a no-kill shelter. What does that have to do with me as a taxpayer? Let's address the problem. We need to address it. I mean, I'm sorry, there's a lot of things at play, and I understand maybe you wanna have a no-kill shelter, but in reality, is that really gonna happen with this hoarding situation and the continuance you heard? They can't contain them in a fence. So right there, you know that this is gonna keep perpetually happening. And our township's very angry, and I am the one who requested to get this on the agenda so we could discuss this. And I will say that I should have worked harder. It wasn't that long ago. I've had my own issues with things going on in my life, and I tried to get the word out, but I had my own meeting last night. I'm on my own board. I'm on the school board of Flambeau, and I had my own meeting last night. So I did reach out to people who reached out to me to contact you. So I apologize if you did get letters late. That was on me, that I should have did it a couple days before, but, I have my own issues. I am very busy being in the situation I am personally. So,
Okay,
I just don't know. Do you have any questions for me? Would you like to see the picture that I presented to the animal control officer that day that shows the dog on my property? Because I think I did send it to you, Terry. That picture behind the barbed wire is my pasture. That's my cattle pasture, and my cattle do go down there. And I don't know what more proof. I keep hearing photographic evidence, and I have many more photos from neighbors that send me photos of their trail cams, and it's all, and let me say this, after I reported that, the dogs were still there days after. My son went down and he was taking pictures, and he don't wanna get involved. He's a 24-year-old guy, he could care less. But he's like, come on, we can't even let our dogs out, Mom. If our dog goes down there, he's gonna get killed by them other dogs. You heard, they will kill other dogs. You heard it right from the animal control officer's mouth. Now, if that don't scare you as an animal control board, I don't know what does. When the animal control officer admits that them dogs would kill other dogs, that is a very scary statement, and that should be very strong evidence that this is a serious problem. That should be done.
dogs come on their
Please
property.
don't interrupt me, ma'am, I'm speaking. And I think that right there is all the evidence you need as an animal control board to actually take control of this situation. She is paid by my tax monies and other people's tax monies. And we expect results from the pay. When you get paid, we want results. The county has, I've been following, they've laid people off, fired them for not doing jobs.
Okay.
Well, this is not,
They did not lay
you
people
wanna
off.
talk,
okay,
but
okay,
anyway, I'm
we
just
got-
saying, if you don't
we
do your
gotta
job,
stick to the topic, we're going to move on.
that is the topic though.
We're not about other county employees or
No,
anything
no,
like
but
that.
okay, if
No,
a,
we've gotta move on, we're not gonna sit here and beat a dead horse, if you will.
well, you
you've
said
made
nobody
your point.
complained, so there I am, I'm
You
just
said
trying
it,
to say
yes.
what,
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Yes,
Thank you. So, I've heard a lot of issues and comments about the auto dogs, and that where people have problems with them, they can't walk their dogs, they're afraid that dogs are crossing the roads, being a traffic hazard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I have not heard from you, or anyone here, is that, when things are awry in an area or whatever, citizens get together and they start up a petition. and they get every neighbor possible that they can to sign that petition, why won't you try to do something like that and then bring it forward to the Animal Control Board and to the Sheriff's Department?
Would you like me to respond?
No, I'm
Okay,
just making a
well, you were
suggestion.
asking a question, so I wasn't sure if you wanted me to respond to that question anyway.
No, I don't have to respond, I don't care for a response, what I'm just saying is that I think it would behoove your case, to bring forth something, signatures from people and saying, here, we have an issue.
Well,
And the
pictures
more
of an
people that
animal on
you
my
get,
property
more-
was
see
what
how
was
it's
needed.
fake. You can do it to somebody else, but it's not alright for me to
I don't
say
really
it's
care, you
something.
know, it's, we're disgusted, and, you know, I'm tired of it being my problem.
Well, okay, let's move on then.
Can I ask a question, Tom, what good would the petition be though?
What harm could it do?
What good would it do? I mean, it's just people signing it in, and they're upset about it, but people are here saying it too. How would it be any different? I'm just confused.
Well, if I have to explain it to you, then it's not
Well,
much
please
point.
do, because I'm confused. I mean, if you have people here
I
saying.
don't know what are you confused about?
What would the difference be?
Can I offer a positive comment, please?
Go
My name is
ahead.
Carrie, I'd like to offer a positive comment, and I think one thing we have not heard here today is a solution or a suggestion or an offer.
I just made a suggestion.
I'm sorry, yes, so that is, but I mean, that's another words and signed pieces of paper, and yes, that's all important, and I want us to do that. The other thing is, I too have worked in vet tech, I too have worked with Dawn. Dawn is an amazing person, I have never once wanted to put her down, and I hope she knows that. I have worked with her on other cases that aren't, that are animal and child cruelty, okay, and we do what has to be done in the letter of the law. That is often hard for people outside of those statutes to understand. It's not just as easy as going in and taking the child or taking the dog. There's a lot of pieces. I did used to volunteer for the animal shelter. I would still volunteer, but there is not money to pay me to help apparently. And I still do volunteer my time. When Dawn calls me, I help. Dawn, call me anytime. She knows that I will. I will come in and help staff the shelter on a half day if I can. Absolutely. This job is hard and she does need more people on her staff to help, but nobody wants to pay that to do it. I've worked in that area, I know what that's like. Same with CPS, nobody wants to do the hard jobs. You have my number, call me if you need help on a Saturday. If you need to, I will definitely help. I will go out and help deliver dog food. If you guys need help rounding up animals, I will be there. Put my name on that list and call. I gladly want to help address the situation. I love the animals. I would love the Ottos to have dogs that they enjoy, if that's truly what they enjoy. If they want help getting them off of there, let's get them off. Otherwise, they are complying. They have made changes. There was a time when they weren't wandering as much, and I don't really know why they're doing it more. They had a slight break, especially after the puppies coming off. So I've even seen them push around their one dog in a wheelchair. Who does that? That's kind of an amazing thing, that you care for an animal in a condition that he can't walk himself. So keep up the good work. Please know that I will help and I will be a part of a solution. If you want me to put some boots on the ground, I will do that. Okay?
Stephanie?
I gotta go to work.
Just a couple things.
They'll keep shooting them, Carrie.
So I too, like Laura, different dogs, but since we're on the topic of dogs at large, sent pictures of 2 dogs just down the road from me that I had to follow after they came onto my property and tried to attack my senior dog who's not doing well, not from that, just of age and health conditions. I texted that picture and then I had emailed Terry asking why I got no response about these dogs at large that came onto my property and aggressed my dog. And then it was last week, one of those 2 dogs came back, same thing. I wasn't able to get a picture because it was at night, but I did offer to have my property cameras to go through them for the night vision to provide more proof, and I've gotten no response from anyone. I reached out to City Hall because I was able to track down who the owners were. City Hall has no record that those dogs are licensed. Can they get citations? Because I did provide proof. I went through the protocol. And then
I don't know
another
what dogs
thing,
you're talking about.
well, it's a matter of public record and I'd be happy to do a request for a copy of the text message I sent you with the picture. but that's besides the point. I would like to see a citation for those dogs, cause they are out frequently. And I will try to get pictures as I can, but it's mostly at night that they do come around, and defecate in the yard and whatnot. I don't care about the poop, I'm more concerned about them aggressing my dog. About there's another thing on there, on the agenda, but it also goes back to dogs at large. When dogs come into the shelter, there is a state statute saying that the owner has to have proof of rabies or provide a copy of a receipt that they went and bought a rabies vaccination prior to reclaiming their pet. And I guess I would like to know why that protocol, which is a state statute, is not being done. I think it would curb a lot of these people getting their dogs back who probably don't deserve to have their dogs. And then the last thing, can you guys add a number onto the county site for people to call when they're chasing deer, cause that's a DNR matter. If someone could just post the DNR's number on the animal shelter page, cause people still think I'm involved with the shelter and they Facebook message me. So I just think that would curb that too, cause then I direct them to the county website, but they said that information is not out there. So if you could just add a number for people to call when dogs are chasing deer, that way it's not on Dawn, cause that is a DNR problem, that is not a humane officer problem. That's all, sorry.
Both.
Okay. Randy?
So the question came up, you said about the 10 days, that you have to write a citation within 10 days.
I have 10 days to write a citation. I can do it after 10 days and if I have a legitimate reason for not getting it done
Okay,
within.
this was 10 days after you being notified?
Yeah, after the dogs at large, like the dogs at large on the 12th, I have until, yeah, so I usually get them done within, it just depends on how many citations I'm writing or what I'm doing.
And that's just for writing citations, but if the dog would be out on the first, and somebody reported, and it wouldn't be a problem at the end of the month. First would be a letter, second would be a citation.
Depending on what they did. the
Right,
first time.
but I mean, there's not a deadline, time frame that is an ongoing.
I've written people over 7, I think it's 8, I don't even know, I got people up to 7, 8 citations, and they're still not compliant, so.
I put them on kennel for a while. People, not the dogs.
The other thing I wanted to say is that from hearing all this, I'm hearing a lot of anger and hostility that's been building for a long time. And I understand that. The flip side is everybody needs to take a step back and just try to reset and start over. You know, there's a set of guidelines out there to follow, so if everybody will do that, document it, and take a deep breath and see if it can get solved.
Okay, animals at large, we're still on that topic, I believe, well, Brian, about Hetke,
Mhm.
do you have anything more on that?
Just,
Did that just start, or has it been going on for?
it has been going on, I mean, it's been going on for years, but
Right, I
it
understand,
has,
but
but-
recently,
I can't say that I myself have seen them with cattle out. I don't go by that property very often.
The picture, Brian, the picture, Jim had
But-
was.
But Mr. Zook had a picture from this morning.
well, if he sends it to, well, he doesn't even have, I mean, it's nice to have it. The issue is the first time around, I don't really know what happened, and I don't think when that went down, I think the previous humane officer quit or left or something, so I don't know, anyways. So if the situation's going on again, I more than likely would, issue an abatement order or a voluntary compliance order. Unless it's bad enough to where then the animals have to be removed, which is a whole nother issue. I mean, it's not that easy to remove somebody's cows,
Right.
especially when, where am I
get
gonna
that.
put a bunch of cows? But
I get
anyways,
that.
that's besides the point. If it's bad enough where they would have to go, then I would have to deal with that. But this is his second time. The first time, yeah, he was watched. But I don't think there was an abatement order issued. An abatement order is good for 3 years. A voluntary voluntary compliance
could-
order is good for 3 years.
Could you explain what an abatement
So
order is?
abatement order,
that we-
abatement order means, okay, say I go out on his farm. So he's got some cows, they're fine, they've got no issues, and he's got some, maybe they're not fine. It's cause you kinda have to look at the whole picture. If I go out there and the whole herd is messed up and starving, you know, whatever's going on, then that's pretty much a done deal, they'll have to be removed. And then you can issue, animal neglect charges or whatever, then it deals with, the court deals with it after that. If I go out there and he's got some that are okay, and maybe that fence could be fixed again, but some of them over here, you know, I don't know what he's got going on. Maybe he's got a disease going on, and moving, you know, a cow that weighs a ton is difficult, for anybody, but he should be asking for help, and people should be willing to help him if he has an issue, and not just be like, you know, that's part of the problem. People will complain. Has anyone gone over there and said, hey, you need help getting rid of this dead cow off your property? I mean, I know he's got issues, but that's part of the process. He can still get into trouble or still get a citation, whether someone helps him or not, okay? So an abatement order, if I go there and I'm gonna say, okay, you gotta correct this, and this. I give him the opportunity to correct that. So instead of me going right for the jugular and charging him with animal neglect, which you try to work with people, that's the first thing you try to do.
Sure.
If it doesn't work out, so say I go back in a month or a week or whatever long I give him to correct the situation, nothing's done, still having problems. Now we're gonna start issuing citations, or we're gonna start doing something else. Cause I've given him an opportunity, and that is a legal document. He signs it, I sign it. And if he doesn't do what I ask, then I go to the next step, and that is to file either neglect or cruelty or whatever. Cause in those cases, citations don't always work, because, you know, if he doesn't pay him, you know, the other problem, maybe the guy needs help. I don't know what's going on out there. I'll have to go out there and talk to him. And see what's going on. But a lot of times in these situations, people need help because they got issues, maybe they're out of money, and people would rather, you know, go for the jugular and, instead of helping people. So I prefer to help people. If I can help them, I will. If it's beyond that, and maybe he just don't care, or maybe he's done, then that's a different situation. So, but that's what I would have done if I would've went out there. I would have done an abatement order, a voluntary compliance order, because then you see the problems, they should be fixed, and if they're not, then it goes into the court's hands after that.
What was the order before?
I'm
You
not
had a
really sure,
couple years.
I mean, there was a complaint, and then he was being watched,
Right,
but I'm not really sure.
cause that didn't come through you,
There was a
No,
DA.
no.
that was the TA. A
So,
lot of
and
that
she may have
stuff.
issued something, but an abatement order is good for 3 years, and I'm guessing there was no abatement order, because he would still be on that. Cause it's only been, what, a year, 2 and a half, 2 years maybe?
It's
So I'm not
probably
sure
close to
exactly.
3.
Can you look at those records, the DA's records, or not? You can turn the
I would
control
have to
officer.
call the district attorney and see if I can get a hold of him and ask him exactly, cause I did go out there to make sure that whatever was done was fixed,
Right.
and it was,
How long did they have to get the dead animal off the property?
that I don't know, I would have to.
So, I mean, we've got the coyotes and the wolves around here, I'd be thinking they'd be coming in for the body, and that could be a hazard for the other animals.
Yeah, they might come into the body, yeah.
Then I'm gonna- I'm gonna
It
go
might depend on, I don't know how people do when they have a dead cow. I mean, they would have to call somebody to move it. They're big. I mean, you
They-
can't,
Or dig
Or
and
you have
bury
to-
it there.
Yeah,
frozen
or,
or
yeah, or,
tarpon.
you-
Yeah.
Compost on a manure pile generally.
yeah, or
Really?
out in the swamp
Yeah,
for.
well, it's a very
cows.
healthy
I
way
mean,
to, it's
Sounds kinda
really
gross.
natural,
It's,
I mean.
yeah.
so either way, there's still gonna be a dead cow on the property. It's
But
just
it shouldn't be laying on
visible,
the road.
it's, right,
just,
okay.
you know,
And we had that before.
Yeah.
And that's what Brady's was here about.
The cow that fell over the field, so to
It
speak.
just,
Well, there
it's
were
not good
several,
optics
remember?
for the ag industry.
No, absolutely not, no, and I did, last time I talked to him, I did tell him if he needed help, that he needed to reach out if something was going awry.
I believe
to let
he's
me
got a
know
running
before it goes
tractor, so,
awry.
I mean,
I mean, I even gave him the number to the UW extension, cause they do have, help for farmers that are having issues through, the state of Wisconsin. So I did give him resources that if he ended up in some kind of bind again, to call and ask for help. And so,
Well,
You know,
both
if he's-
him and his
if
wife
he's not-
have
if he's
8
not-
degrees from River Falls, and he's the president of the Farm Bureau, so I think he knows how to handle this stuff. Correct? Oh, pardon me. I do have, some comments about this animal situation. My son is an agronomist, and he drives around and, you know, looking at crops and that. And he does know that Jim Zook has had problems, cause Jim's property aligns next door to Hecky's. And so many times their cattle are out in his fields, you know, which Zook has hundreds of beef cattle to feed, and he can't feed everyone's cattle. So anyway, I do know my son had stopped, and he's tried to put in cattle back into Hecky's, and he's called the Zooks, and I know he talked to Brady, and they took this herd and they put it back in. I don't think anyone was around, and when they did that, they went in the yard and, you know, to put the cows in, and there was a dead calf that had decomposed, and the cow that lost the calf was throwing it all. My son was just disgusted. He was like, oh my God, Mom. He's 24, you know, and he's seen stuff dies, he's had to put it down, but he said, here's this rotted calf, and the cow is like trying to wake this calf up to nurture it yet, and it's decomposing, and he told me about that, and he was so upset. So I think I'm gonna have to have him actually start to get involved in you know, he's an adult now, he's gonna have to start actually saying something when he runs into these situations, because, you know, young guys don't want to get involved, but he was pretty upset about it, because it was a very sad situation, because the cow was still mourning, and anyway, but yeah, so you know, there is some issues. So one thing I would suggest possibly, yes, I do get excited, because like I said, I've had my livestock killed before, and it hurts, you know, I love them, and I love my dogs, and I just don't wanna see bad things happen to I don't, you know, one of them dogs was a young puppy thing that was eating on this carcass thing, and it was so terrified, and I felt so bad for it, but what can you do? You can't catch it to help it. You can't, you know, you feel so helpless as a person watching these animals, living a very it's not a happy life for them dogs there when they're doing that, and it's sad. And I would just suggest possibly that maybe you as a board could visit possibly the Ottos and possibly the Heckies, and sometimes seeing for yourself is a much better thing than having us come and tell you what we perceive. Your perception as the animal control officer and the board together might answer some questions or bring to light things we are trying to relay to you. Nothing better than seeing for yourself. So I suggest that maybe schedule some visits, and maybe that would help bring some light on some of these issues for the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think, one thing that needs to be repeated is, Dawn can't do anything if it isn't reported to her. And I think we've had numerous times again today and from before that they don't call and complain and everything, and yet blame her for not doing anything when it hasn't been reported. And that gets old too.
Terry, can she respond to my complaint about the Otto's dogs with the picture proof I provided her?
Do you know
you can send the photo.
You took a picture of my photo, ma'am.
No, I didn't.
Oh, alright, I will say that is a blatant lie.
I took a picture of your photo? from
Yes,
your
I
phone?
come in, you called the police on me at the animal shelter.
Yeah, 'cause you
I
threatened
remember
my
the day
job.
very well, because you you said, I saw the photo, you refused to take a picture. That's
No.
right, that's how the cops
Ma'am.
got involved, because you really didn't, you go, I seen it on Facebook,
Okay.
and that's what's said, but I did file a complaint.
Okay,
So what more do I do?
this will be civil.
Yes, I'm sorry.
First, I would like to say, when you came into the animal shelter, you asked who the manager was. I said, me. The first thing that came out of your mouth is, you are really gonna hate me today. You're really gonna hate me. I'm gonna make your life hell. That is what you said to me, and
I
then you
might have
started
said
yelling
you're
and
gonna hate me.
swearing and accusing me of all kinds of things. You threatened my job. And I had customers, I was adopting a cat, and you were yelling, you said the F word, that's why you were asked to leave. And we tried to get you to leave and you wouldn't leave. And I said, well, I'll have to call the police. And you said, go ahead. That is why the police were called. You swore at me, you threatened my job, you came into the animal shelter when I had clients who was adopting a cat. The animal shelter does not issue citations. The animal shelter is not responsible for the auto dogs or the heck keys or anything. If you wanna file a legitimate complaint,
Yeah.
Dawn,
please email me.
don't
Or
holler
my
at the,
phone.
don't holler at the audience.
Well, I guess I didn't understand the
Excuse
chain
me,
of
may I
command.
say something?
Well, I would like to respond to her
Okay.
and then,
People,
Terry?
this has to be, we'll go back to what we've talked about before, this has to be civil to each other, you cannot attack people personally and everything like that. We are still on animals at large, I'll call on Joanne.
I would just like to say that I think there's been some very good conversation and talking about stuff. But I have come to meeting after meeting after meeting, and we have been told we only get to talk for 3 minutes at the public comment, unless we were, said you could talk. But this has gone on and on and on. And Stephanie's sitting back there, recording everything, and she attacked me the one time when I wanted to say something, and it was like, oh, you let the person
Okay,
who.
come on.
So,
come on.
it is exact fact that what she said is like, I couldn't talk, but now people can come and just talk. What's the situation in the rules? I think they've had enough opportunity.
Okay, we have,
Move on.
if,
We go
To
on
have-
boarding of animals.
to have public comment is not necessary. That is at our discretion. And, we can eliminate public comment entirely, so nobody has it. The committee meeting is for the committee to discuss stuff and everything with very limited public comment, except if they have something on here that has to be, we have to contact them for, some expertise or something, or like Dawn, for example, for the reports and everything. So, we've got to respect each other, and we're going to move on now from animals at large. I think that's been, again, if a complaint needs to be filed against Hetke's or something, pictures and sent to Dawn, and none of this other stuff. We'll move on now to boarding of animals.
I'm gonna say one thing, and I will interrupt you, because I filed a complaint and I didn't know the proper
No,
procedure. I'm gonna
no.
say it, I don't care,
I'm
because
sorry.
if I'm
You will
not,
be asked to
if
leave.
I'm not, I will leave. But if I'm not eloquent in my complaint, does that mean the complaint does not exist? That's what I will say. The complaint still exists, so you can't ignore my complaint if I didn't do it properly. It's still a complaint, and if you don't wanna address it, that's fine, because the petition will be coming. And I'm coming, don't worry, I'm coming. I'm out, don't worry, but I do wanna speak to that.
Okay, we will move on to boarding of animals, and I think some of that is the definition of boarding versus boarding. That's part of your handout. On there, there's two things. One is from the minutes back, in 21, that I think you found.
Right.
That the boarding fee was $5 per day, and they moved to make it $20 a day, and then the Rush County Animal Shelter thing, ordinances say we do not board animals. I think Dawn needs to, explain there's a difference between boarding and boarding. We are not like, you're going on vacation for 2 weeks, you bring your dogs to the animal shelter, you expect to board. We do not do that. I think the term boarding has been misinterpreted. why don't you explain about, if an animal, for example, if somebody, if the dogs are, you know, the person's in jail or something like that, or, you know, the definition of things.
Alright, definition of boarding at Rusk County Animal Shelter applies to any animal that has been impounded. Impounded can mean the owner went to jail, owner was hospitalized, or owner died. If that animal gets reclaimed by whomever, they pay a boarding fee, which is per day. If an animal is a stray and an owner reclaims it, it is a boarding fee per day, the owner pays that. If the animal is quarantined for rabies, it is a boarding fee per day, the owner pays that when they pick up the animal. We do not board when people go on vacation. We do not board if they lose their home and wanna pick the cat or dog up in a month, we don't do that. It's just called a boarding fee. So, that's basically what that is, and if an owner goes to jail, and he's gonna go to jail for 6 years, I'm not boarding his dog for 6 years, or cat, or whatever it is. Couple weeks is one thing, as long as they can pay. If they go to jail and they know they can't pay, then I do my best to get them to surrender that animal. They don't have to, but I will do my best, and if they don't wanna surrender their animal, they are liable for whatever fees are incurred. But we try very hard to get people to surrender them if they're gonna be in jail for a long period of time. If an animal is seized means an animal is taken because it needs immediate medical attention or it's not being cared for, no food, no water, no shelter, it's emaciated, no hair, full of ectoparasites, endoparasites, ear infections, whatever. Seizure means I took those animals are now impounded at Rusk County Animal Shelter, because the humane officer took them. Then I file a criminal charge with the district attorney. That goes to district attorney. Then I have to sit back and wait for court. If the owner still does not want to surrender those animals, they do not have to. Those animals will sit at the Rusk County Animal Shelter until that person goes to court and is found innocent or guilty of animal neglect. If she's found innocent, or he, they can reclaim those animals, because then the court would say, here's your animals back. They have to pay those fees. But they're not fees for boarding, because that person's in jail, they're just the fees for daily care. Does that make sense?
What are the fees for daily care? Because the way I took the minutes to read at that meeting.
Yes, this was never implemented. That's not my fault either. It's not on any paperwork anywhere in that shelter. The impound and quarantines and everything I have says $5 a day. This was never implemented by anybody that worked at the animal shelter.
What do you mean by implemented?
It's not being
Enforced.
enforced, meaning implemented, it means
Well,
we are charging $5 a day.
do we still have those 12 animals?
Yes, they're in court. I
Okay.
just explained that, Nancy, they're in court, I
You
can't
just
get
say
rid of
animals
them.
in general.
Well, of
I'm
course,
asking about those
I
ones
said
in
seized.
particular, because as of last month, at $5 a day, we would've only got back $5,760.
But they're
if it
getting
was-
charged for other stuff, Nancy.
Let
I
me
can't
fin,
change
Dawn,
the
let
fee
me
now.
finish. If it would've been the $20 a day thing, it would've been $23,000.
Well, it's not $20 a day, it's $5 a day. I
But,
can't
okay, and
change
that's why you
that.
have to get all this dog food, because
Voluntary.
those stupid,
Yes, they're in
mascots.
court, what would you like me to do, you want me to give them back to her? They have to be fed, I
Would
seize
you
them.
just let me finish?
So either if I don't seize animals,
Okay, okay,
if I don't seize animals,
do you want
it's,
to?
I'm
We
not
need
doing
to
my
increase-
job.
we
If I
need-
seize them, I'm not doing my job, I don't understand what you want from me, Nancy. So if I
If
do
you
my
would
job.
shut up, I could tell you.
I'm
Hey,
about ready to
hey,
leave.
hey,
She keeps interrupting me,
hey,
Terry. I'm
hey,
trying to bring up the
hey,
point that I
hey,
have.
hey,
Horses love it.
everybody, quiet down. Now,
Well, this came up at the last meeting about the cost here.
Yes, and if you want information, talk to the district attorney. I'm done answering questions about those dogs. I
I'm
explained
not
it last
asking about
meeting.
those dogs and cats.
You just did. You said it's $5 a day. It would've been $23,000 if it was $20 a day. I can't do anything
You
about
won't
that.
even let me finish.
She's going to court. I explained it last meeting.
The
I'm not
cost
explaining
to
it
keep
again.
them there needs to be increased.
Well, it'll have to be increased after those dogs, because that's kind of, this is not my issue here. I didn't do this. It was not implemented. how am I supposed to know we're supposed to be charging $20 a day when whoever was before me didn't implement it on any forms, nobody even knew
It's
about it.
right here.
It is, but it never went from here to the animal shelter.
This is the shelter minutes. What the hell you mean?
Oh my God.
This was when Dawn was not here
It's
then.
not on any paperwork, that's what I mean, when you open the
Until
binder
you
for
found
SOP,
it,
it's
we
$5
didn't know
a
it.
day.
But now we know it.
Then it
Right,
can be
but-
changed in 2025,
But it can't be retro.
it can't be retroed.
From this day forward.
Yes, Nancy, absolutely, it'll be changed.
Okay, let's get back to, anything more about boarding of animals? I think we've had the definition of boarding. Again, we do not board like you go on vacation.
Maybe that wording should be changed then, Terry? On the, on the, what pages are these? On this one? Somehow write it, make it so you don't board for people on vacation or,
Well, we don't board at all.
what Dawn said that when we're taking animals, get,
Sure.
some of the animals get brought in, like for jail, those animals are boarded, she said. Yeah. So it's
I
like,
mean, I'm sorry, this was like 15 minutes of running around this whole thing, and the whole subject was, why was that $20 never implemented?
right,
And this gets to be a problem of these meetings every time, is that everything goes around and around and around, and there's anger and hostility, and things are taken to lengths that don't need to be, when that's what the question was, is,
why are they
it
not
was
getting
put
the
to $20, and why didn't that happen? She said it was never put in the books. Okay, so put it in there.
Right.
That's a
and
5-minute discussion,
And that's what she
and this
said.
just turns in, well, but we didn't need the description of what wording is and what wording is.
Well, boarding, I think there's a difference between
But nobody had a
going,
question about that.
going on vacation
But
or not.
Yeah, but what I'm
I
saying is
think
nobody
that
questioned
explains
that. She questioned why the rate wasn't being charged.
Right, and that was it.
So the rest of it was unnecessary and more hostility and more, just, yeah.
And just because it wasn't on the
I'm not
record.
gonna miss not being on this board anymore because it goes nowhere. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas,
Oh,
Happy
yeah,
New
you
Year.
too.
Happy birthday, Randy, day late.
Thanks.
So why couldn't this be the $20 a day thing, just because it wasn't on the records at the shelter books? It's on record here, why would the $20 still be applicable at the shelter?
That's something we can look into, but she hasn't been charging that for anybody, and so now you'd be
Right.
charged with discrimination because she
No,
didn't
Terry.
know that this was on here.
I had brought this up months ago, maybe even a year ago, I told you personally, private conversation, that the fee had gone up. I couldn't locate it, took me quite a while to find this one.
Right, until we had proof, we couldn't just do it.
Right, but now there's the proof, and as long as it just showed up now,
So we can go forward with this.
Well,
We
these
can't go
people-
retro,
but these people should be charged $20 a day. This person, whatever it is.
but we can look into that, but I'm not.
Because, like I said, that, as of last month, after 96 days, it was $23,000. At $20 a day, 12 pets. But at $5 a day, it's only 5,800 roughly, and that's a big difference.
Yes,
It
is.
costs more than $5 to take care of one animal a day.
Yes, it does.
Between the staff time, the kennel placement, the cleaning, the food, all that stuff, that's way more than $5 a day, that's why we increased it then.
But without us knowing it,
Who should have put it on the books at the shelter?
should have been Karen. This was done when she was there.
Right.
There was no paperwork. There was nothing there.
What would she have had to put it on?
Well, she would have had it in the policies. She would have changed the $5 per day.
But there's
to
been stuff before
$20.
that Dawn said she didn't realize.
Well, because there's no records there. Dawn, Karen did.
She wasn't good about doing records, I know that.
Right, and
Which is one
so
of my complaints I had about her.
you can't blame Dawn for
Terry,
that.
I'm not blaming her, I wanted to bring this to light that it is $20 a day, not
Yes,
five.
and we
So
agreed
why-
to that
But Terry,
now.
why do you say I'm blaming Dawn? I'm not. I didn't blame her one bit, I didn't say it was her fault. I just said it's $20, they should be charged $20 a day because of the amount of money that the shelter is losing out on.
But
Maybe
then
that's,
you'd have to go back, how far back?
why would you have to go back?
2021?
Because it's just brought to light now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, okay.
So this person, anybody forward, should be paying $20 per day.
Well, or at least forward. That's something.
Well,
we
this
should
okay,
look
then
into.
this person, not from today on.
Well, we'll look into that. I mean, that hasn't gone to court yet.
Yeah, so how many more 100 days, I mean, okay, so now it's been 129 days.
The district attorney has the amount, again, we can't discuss all that because that's in the court system.
How do you know this, Letary? We can't discuss this.
Because if it hasn't gone to trial, we cannot discuss stuff going to trial. It's in the courts, like when Dawn fires a citation and files it, it goes into the court system. She has nothing more to do with it. It's out of her hands.
Right, but if these animals here for another 79, 97 days, whichever it was, that's gonna be that much more that we're gonna be losing out on. That's money that would go back to the shelter, correct? To be used to pay for the animals.
Yes, provided she does it. If she's found guilty or not guilty,
Should still have to pay for the animals being there though.
right, but, and whether she gets them surrendered or not, then
Right,
if she surrenders them, then she wouldn't be paying.
but my point is, how many more 100 days or so, 200 days?
I don't know,
Right,
it hasn't
but
gone
that's
to
why,
trial.
but that's why at least we should implement this from today forward.
We will look into that, okay? We're beating this horse again.
Stephanie's got a question, I think, I'm not sure.
Is it okay?
Stephanie,
So the $20, it definitely was on the paperwork. I know Karen destroyed a bunch of records when she left, and that's besides the fact, but I think I do have some in my garage that do show the $20. Granted, yes, I understand it can't be implemented, retro, thank you, Brian. But I mean, I think going forward you could, cause it definitely is on the paperwork, and I have some somewhere in my garage, cause I would just grab a bunch of reclaim paperwork from the shelter, cause sometimes I get a call at 11 o'clock, I just go from my house, I wouldn't go to the shelter, grab the shelter vehicle, so I always just kept a pile of papers in my garage for reclaim, or not reclaims, but strays.
Forms?
Sorry, I don't like public speaking. And then I just had a kind of a question on that boarding thing. Isn't there there's a statute, I believe, that people have to pay their fee before they can get their animal back. And then the other thing was,
I believe that's right, Dawn?
Yep.
Yep.
and then, when I did an open records request with Connie Meyer, she said the county typically, if they know who the owner is, they only have 4 days to reclaim a pet.
They only what?
Have 4 days to reclaim a pet, and if the owner isn't known, it's 7 days. And that's what she gave me from public record,
Before it becomes a shelter dog, you mean, a shelter pet?
before it becomes ward of the county or
Well,
something.
yeah, whatever.
It's 4 days for a stray and it's 7 days for a known owner. I don't know what you just said, it's 4 days for a stray, 7 days for a known owner.
Okay, so in the record, she had flipped that, so I'm just curious, like, these dogs that came in, I get, there's a court case or whatever, but were they strays, or were they just a known thing or something?
What dogs are you talking about?
The court case, they
They're
were.
not strays, they
they're
were
not strays.
seized from the owner.
Okay, that was just my question, cause I said, cause I was trying to get, couldn't we just take them in as county property at that point?
No, she's in court, she's going to court, if she's proven innocent, she gets her dogs and cats back.
After
If
she
she's
pays,
proven
right?
guilty, then they're ours.
But she'll have to pay that fee.
Yes,
Okay.
of course, yep.
Perfect, awesome, thank you.
Regardless of whether she's found guilty or innocent,
No,
No.
if she's found guilty, they're ours.
but you wanna pay the back,
Nope.
back amount.
That's on us.
Is there a motion in order here?
Okay, if you want to, for something.
For what?
For what?
Alright, so I'd like to make a motion then that we do, start charging the $20 per day fee for boarding effective today, going on.
I'll second it.
And, for any animal that was incarcerated prior to this motion or this day, then we would simply go by what the fee was. When the animals were taken in.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to implement the $20 per day,
Would 20 cover it?
20, you might get stuck with a lot of animals, but it is what it is. People
But I mean, to cover the feeding and stuff, maintenance of them.
The feeding was that was the least amount of the money,
Medical is the other,
medical.
but I mean, over, for any animal
They
in
get
general.
charged for everything,
Right.
normally if an animal came in, that's not a court case and I had to, treat something, that's not a big deal. But because it is a court case, every single thing that was done is a charge. The vaccines are a charge. The treatment for mange and fleas and secondary bacterial infections on their skin is a charge. Anything I had to get from the vet, like Interceptor, cause these dogs are large, I didn't have big enough stuff to give them, that's all a charge. They're charged for every single thing that we did, so the boarding is, a small
Right.
part of it.
But for the average animal that comes in, say, the
Yeah.
20 covered. And most people seem to come and pick their animals up for the most part.
Usually, yeah.
Do you think we should raise it?
No, I think
20 is good.
some people probably wouldn't be able to pay that, cause they're gonna pay an impound fee of $25, and then they're gonna pay a $20 fee. So if they get the animal the same day, they're only gonna pay the 25 impound fee. If it's 24 hours, then it will be the impound fee with the straight, whatever, plus the 20 boarding, so it'd be 45. So hopefully that's not too much for people, cause there are people that already can barely pay
The 25.
the 25 with the $5, but we'll have to see how it goes, and if I start having issues, we're gonna have to revisit it, cause I don't wanna keep people's pets, cause they can't afford to pay for them, to get them out.
They'll take more care to keep them around.
Well, accidents happen
I know that,
sometimes,
yeah, right.
sometimes dogs get away, I mean, I've got dogs that got away cause the owner died and they had to go somewhere else, and the dogs were freaked out and,
Didn't know where they were.
took off, and if it's somebody that is chronic, which I haven't had any chronic people, except for one, and that dog got surrendered to us, for a while. I haven't had, hardly any chronics that had been impounded.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to, implement the $20 per diem, well, we'll call it boarding fee, but shelter fee, effective today, moving forward. Any further discussion?
There was an add-on with that. That one.
What was the add-on?
That any animals incarceration prior to today would remain at the $5 fee.
Right, it's just effective today forward, so
Okay.
it's not retro, yeah. So any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, motion carries.
Terry, so Terry, curious, would we wanna change that for the general public when they see it? What if we do not board animals? I mean, somehow make it so they understand that it's not for vacationing or, how you put it,
Yeah.
but
I'm
something,
not
yeah,
sure.
some other.
Why would not public understand that animal shelter is not a place for them to take?
So I've had people ask me,
That just doesn't make sense. You call it kennel, if you wanna, take your.
I've heard people say they figured it'd be cheaper at the shelter. And I told them, well, they don't take animals at all. So maybe consider that too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the wording would be for it,
Okay, that's a good suggestion, we can think about that, okay? Okay, the next thing on here is options for building remodeling. I don't know if we have anything more today than from last time. Any updates on any materials or anything, or designs or anything to redo the garage? Nothing new, okay, we'll move on then.
A very quick question, now that would have to go before the city council, would it not? Because that is 40%.
The what?
Any building improvements or changes? Because the shelter is 40% owned by the city?
But I don't know about that. That's something we gotta figure out now that the city's pulling out of it.
Right, but they still own 40% regardless.
Right, but there was, another proposal by joint management that would turn the shelter over to the city, to the county, and so, and that,
What else was there with that then?
well,
So, yeah, when's that gonna be acted on, or just not decided, I think it did.
I think it
Well,
went
trust
back
me.
to be revised. So
Building
I
will be
don't know.
after, no worries.
So maybe as a precaution before doing anything, bring it to the council?
Well, I noticed, again, this is just one thing that was in the newspaper, or a comment again that I found out about, that why wasn't any county board members at the city council meeting? We weren't even notified there was a city council meeting regarding this, and it was like, why wasn't there any, county board members there? And it's like, well, we weren't invited, and we weren't,
I can give you the general response to that you get for park board meetings is you should be keeping an eye on that stuff. Which I know you got better things to do.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the animal shelter, humane officer report. Oh.
Do you want one of these? Do you care what's in the shelter?
Sure. Brian will take one.
You need one, Aaron? Who else wants one?
Okay.
We have 64 total animals at the animal shelter. 5 of them are in drop off, which means that's half pound, there's only 6 kennels in there, so there's 5 in there. Actually, there's now 6 in there, because we got one in last night. And cat playroom 1 has 5, and then cat playroom 2 has 6. And then in the back garage quarantine area, there is 16 cats back there. The cat room has 8 cats up for adoption. And then the dog room has 4 dogs, the dog quarantine has 4 dogs. We have 1 dog in foster to adopt. There are 3 cats in the hallway. There are 11 cats and kittens in the laundry room. And there is 1 cat living in my office.
In your office. Just out of curiosity, is it a cat cage, cat carrier?
No, she's in the office. No, she knows, I have a gate in front of my door.
Oh.
Cause I've had a dog in there before, we didn't have any kennels, I had to put a little dog in there. So sometimes
She cuddly?
the dog in there,
Yeah.
yeah, she's kind of a pain in my butt. But
I'll let you sit down.
she's an older girl and wasn't
Well,
real
see,
happy.
yeah, you've got, your cats are all fairly young.
Yeah, we have a lot of little cats.
Not a 5-year-old one, but baby.
So how many cats did you say?
Well, we have 64 animals total, so if you
Okay.
just subtract the amount of dogs,
How many dogs?
we have 8. We have 8 dogs.
8 dogs right now.
Not too
Any
bad.
cats in foster? Nope, our last 2 got adopted.
By the foster people? How do you go about getting the foster, families?
Well, these are foster to adopt.
Okay.
So what happens if they want to adopt, but,
They're
so
sure.
one of the cats, well, both of the cats were kinda shy. So I allow them to foster to adopt just to see if the cat will come around.
Okay. Were they siblings or?
No, actually, were they? They might have been, but they went to 2 different people.
Okay.
So they both got adopted because they came around within, a couple weeks or whatever. The dog, we did a foster to adopt because we weren't sure, because she's kind of a little bit of a, she's a nice dog, but she likes to run away a lot. She's the one that got surrendered to us, and she kept running away. So we did a foster to adopt there just to make sure that we wouldn't have to keep getting loose or, not
Separation.
wanting there, but it's been fine, so.
That's good.
And then they can decide if they want to adopt.
So if somebody would want to foster a cat in general, they could contact you and just.
They can contact, and usually we have fosters, we had like something that was injured or needed a lot of medical care or something like that. Normally, most of those that we have, they're injured to the point of where
They're,
there's nothing that you're gonna do about it.
Okay.
But yeah, they can contact the shelter.
Okay. Haven't had any babies born recently.
Not recently.
Baby season's done, huh?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Alright, so we did, 13 dog and cat adoptions since the last meeting.
Wow.
Dog and cat?
Yeah, together, 13.
Were they from the,
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply?
That, well, some of them, yeah. Yep. I have written 2 more warning letters since the last meeting, so that totals 33 warning letters this year. I haven't written any new citations yet, but that's 55 citations I've written this year. And then I have 31 total animal complaints since, I've got 31 total, and I've got 1 new one since last meeting. Like I said before, 23 of those are open, which means I'm still dealing with 23 of them. And then I was gonna talk about, we gave out 98 spay neuter vouchers.
Wow.
But I won't know till the end, I get the bill from Lady Smith Vet at the end of the year of how many of those came in and showed up. Sometimes there are people that don't show up.
That's for the whole year.
This is for the whole year, 98, yeah.
When was the big increase? It said there was nowhere near that many quite a while ago, or a while
There
ago.
was 30 some last year. Well, it depends, that's
30?
98 that I gave out. There was 38 or 40, I think, last year.
98 now.
Yeah,
Wow.
so, but sometimes people don't do it.
Is there a deadline for when they have to be used by?
Yeah, I usually put, well, the vets are backed up, so I usually try to give them a few months. Usually what I do is I have them make an appointment first, and then, because they're making appointments in 2024 and their animals aren't even gonna get fixed till 2025,
Right.
so that's a different voucher. So I have to do a 2025
Oh,
voucher, so I
right.
usually wait, and then they give me the date, and then I usually do 30 days from that date.
But people are still getting vouchers to get their pets
People are
fixed.
still getting vouchers, yeah.
More cats or dogs?
A lot of cats. I mean, there's dogs on there, but there's a lot of cats.
Mostly cats though.
I didn't break it down, but,
General idea though.
and then I did wanna mention the holiday match, I'm sure most of you have seen that online. So, we had a goal of 2,000 to meet, we met that goal, and then that match got increased another 1,000, I think, wasn't that what it was, Joanne, another 1,000? Right now, as of this morning, we are at $2,850, so if we reach 3,000, our donors are gonna match. And so then
What's
we'll
the
end up, I
deadline
think
again?
we'll get 6,000 then,
What's the deadline?
Friday, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, I did.
So hopefully we'll get some holiday matches in there to get that up to 3,000, cause then we'll get 6,000.
And that can be used for
That's for food, litter,
anything, any supplies.
they, yep, they
Operations.
donated that money so that goes for food, litter,
Operation,
operations basically,
which is food.
normal medical treatment, you know, things like that. So that will definitely help a lot. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Dawn? You see a bunch of, like you say, 64, so there would be 56 cats and 8 dogs. So the dogs are down.
Yeah, we just took a surrender yesterday, and then the others, I had some people trying to get their dogs, so we took a surrender yesterday of a dog. And there was another person that had a dog, but I called her and she found him for us, so that was good.
I'm just curious, anybody just drop off animals out there? I mean, when no one's around, they don't call dispatch,
Yeah, we found a cat outside.
in a
one day.
box or,
No, it wasn't a box.
oh, just walk around? Okay. 'Cause I know at the old one, they used to drop them off in boxes or.
Just one, I think, is the only, we only had one that was left there, that I know of. But we found that one wandering around outside.
Young, old?
That was, I think he was just like 4 or something like that. He's that one.
So the ones we'd see tied up out at the old shelter, it was just
No dogs have been done.
on a box full of cats. Five kittens with 1 male cat. But they loved them because they had them in a dog carrier, but they had food, water, litter box, and bedding.
Or them in the box?
In the box, yeah, and that was like 90-some degrees out too.
Oh.
But they love these animals enough, they did this for them, but then it was like, why did they leave daddy with the kids and not mommy? Didn't make any sense, but anyway.
Okay, nothing more on the Humane Officer 2, anything new there? Humane Officer, or you did both reports, okay? Let's move on then to the budget review. Again, this is as of end of November. looking at it, well, we're over on the usual things, again, remember, some of these items haven't been charged yet. Again, nothing really, too big, I mean, some of these things, for example, like 156, the workers' comp, that gets charged at the end of the year and put through as a transfer, and that's just a one-time thing, so, again, we don't know what that is, we have, in the budget though, 156, and there's some others in here, you see we're over on duplicating, we talked about that before, and, member subscription. Don't know about that one. Member subscription 424. Yeah, it's the first one. Where's your? Yeah, okay. 324, memberships are over, but you have memberships, dues. You had to renew some licenses. I
Oh,
think.
yes, that's what it is, yep.
Yeah.
There was a membership one.
And another, animal supplies are over, but again, we're kind of wearing that, I mean, with more animals there. We've already talked about 356, for the transportation. Again, for example, down here, maintenance transfer 930, nothing's been transferred yet, it's in the budget, but again, that's a year-end thing done by the county. If you flip the page over, one positive thing is cash receipts, from the animal shelter, we had budgeted 10,000, we got about 14,500 at the end of November, so that's to the good. And then shelter donation, well, okay, I can't give you a number on that one, it's 48,500 going down to, but it's 10,318, that wasn't budgeted, cause this just started, that people just donate for the operations, and so we've got $10,000 in this year, which is good, to go to, general operations. Again, going further on down for where you see in the left column, 23,415. Again, transfer of dog licenses, that won't get done till later, but I expect last year the actual transfer was 26,000 something, so I expect it to be that amount for this year, 2024. On that, and again, there's some items over, but, like I say, there's 1 month to go. And then if we go to, building fund, next section, again, that's just about a wash for the year, because remember, we paid for the architect fees, the 6,500, and we've gotten in, roughly 6,600, in building donations, so it's basically a wash, and the beginning balance at the fund balance is 12/31/2023 is 15,981, so it's roughly the same going forward, and I wouldn't expect any big change in December. The next one, spay neuter, flip the page. Again, it's called Heather expense 365, is like 19,000, which is 7,000 over the, budget. But, our donations are over, we've got 14,000, the aluminum cans are over. Are they picking up more aluminum cans yet?
One more load,
One more load, it's
I
full?
called them last week.
Oh, okay,
Oh, one more load since last time, you mean?
They need to pick one up.
Oh, okay.
so will we get that in December, a check from them?
Usually, they get a check to me pretty quick,
Okay.
but I wanna say,
With Christmas.
I added up the voucher, I think, is that what's in there, voucher? Yeah. I think we've gotten like almost $10,000 in cans. Well, cans and other, like foundation, and then I had a couple private donors donate into the voucher program.
Okay.
So
nobody calls
There's
you,
not
or,
very many, it's once a month.
oh, okay,
We usually just do a drive-by and see if there's any cans in there.
well, it's worth stopping for.
Yeah, there's only like one bag in there right now,
Okay.
maybe 2 bags.
Okay, so again, if you look at, we're $7,000 over in expenditures, but we're $5,000 more in revenue. So it's roughly a 2,000 deficit, but again, the 12/31/2023 fund balance was at 30,000. So you subtract 2,000 from that, and we're still at 28,000, for the year. So that's good. The last item, the last one is, gift donations. Again, we only had the one transfer, remember we approved that, and that was for the beds or something like the 880. There were gifts made about $2,000, so roughly, we've got almost $1,000 net for the year. And the beginning fund balance was $82,519.63, and so add roughly $1,000 to that, and that would be $83,000 in that.
How are those beds, I'm just curious, how are those beds holding up?
They're good, when you get it, some dogs chew and sometimes they'll chew on the legs, but you can get replacement legs.
Okay.
But the metal, they have metal ones, but they were a lot more expensive, so.
And the bed itself,
Yeah, the bed's fine, yeah.
those can be replaced too, I assume.
Okay, any questions on the bills? Okay, practice, any reports from you?
Did you wanna do the bills, review the bills, or did you review
Oh,
that?
review bills, I'm
What
sorry.
was lotion puffs, any chance?
Okay, next, review the bills and approve. You've seen the bills there, are there any questions for Dawn, about the bills? No questions?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Okay, a motion's been made, is there a second?
May I say something? That one bill for the 11 cat spays and 8 cat neuters and 11 rabies vaccines for $1,975. That is not coming out of your budget. I wrote a check to Dawn for that. I usually try to do the purple cat when she would come here and help out the community, so I donated that amount to pay for it.
Okay, so that will go into this, that will go into, well, in effect, yeah, I wonder. It went to 565, yeah. Okay, any motions made, was it seconded? Did somebody second the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the bills. Any questions on them? Any questions for Dawn about the?
How's the dog that had the hernia repair? Is that anything major?
No, it was, a little bit. Nothing too bad.
Okay, no further questions. All those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, fracas, now is your time to shine.
Okay, I have a couple questions, and I don't know, if these are for Jill or for you, but, Laura Dutter mentioned that there is a county dog tax for damage caused by dogs, and that there is a standard amount of money that is paid out for different kinds of animals that are killed or hurt or whatever. And I'm wondering how a person finds out, number one, how much is in that county dog tax thing? Is that a special fund? If it isn't used, does it go to the animal shelter? If it's short, what happens? And also, I'm wondering where I can get like a list of what the standard amount of money is for the different kind of animals that are injured or, killed. What does anybody know about that?
So, you have two questions.
Yes. have more too, but these.
No.
we'll
You'll start with those.
Start with those, yes.
Okay, so, the first one is there a county fund?
Yes,
for-
yes, that, when people pay their dog taxes, it sounded like she said that there was a county dog tax specifically for damages done by dogs.
I'm not aware of that, I mean, we get the dog tax that you saw on the reports,
Uh-huh.
you know, to pay for, well, the animal shelter thing. But, your question is, does any of the dog tax go to animal damage?
Well, right, because, I mean, Laura alluded to that, I don't know if that is true,
Yeah.
it used to be true that there was a,
City and the county both had, didn't they?
well, you know, I don't know exactly who ran the fund, but I sat in county board meetings where people complained about their animals were killed, and they got money from the county to compensate for that, and I'm wondering if that is still something that's going or not.
They got rid of it.
There was,
What?
Okay to speak?
Yeah.
A past meeting, it was either Dave Willingham or Rich Summerfield who spoke up, and said that they had gotten rid of that because people were coming in and they had the most expensive duck in the county and,
no, no.
yeah, that might have jogged your memory of that meeting. And everybody in the
Yes.
room kinda giggled and,
Yeah,
yeah,
But they
so I
had
don't
gotten
think
rid
it
of it.
exists anymore.
yeah, that happens with hunting dogs too. They get real expensive.
So it seemed like in the old agreement, there was something about the city had some funding, I can't remember the dog tax, you know how it was referred to as, but they'd pay for their 40%, whatever.
Okay, so right now there is, if my duck gets killed by somebody's dog, I can't come to the county board and say,
I don't remember
I
the
want
numbers.
to be paid for that. There's no such thing existing anymore.
I don't know,
Okay,
I think it, yeah.
we can look into that.
okay.
Was it, sorry to interrupt, but was that just for animals, do you know, or was it for,
What I recall is that it was just for animals. If it was
Okay.
for something else, I don't know, I don't remember that, but I do remember specifically the
animals
animals.
for sure, yeah.
And when Stephanie brought that up, it was that, you know, the ducks were getting into like $10,000 duck or
Mhm.
whatever.
The golden goose?
The
I
golden
could-
goose, that's right.
I'd get that thing mounted then,
What?
I'd get that mounted then, if it was that good of a goose.
Yeah. Okay.
And the second part?
Was, if there was a different fee or amount awarded for.
Well, what the fee would be,
Yeah,
if there still is
the
this
amount
fund.
awarded, so it wouldn't really be a fee, it would be like what you got, if you got,
The amount of damages,
Yes,
if that's
yes.
still
Per
on
animal.
there.
so is that still on there? Or if the whole program is gone, then maybe that is no longer existing,
I wonder if they're supposed to go after, the owner is supposed to be going after the owner of that animal then.
you know? I don't know, I'm.
That's a
No.
good point to bring up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing is, when animals are dropped off at a person's property, who is responsible for those animals? Is it the animal shelter? Is it the lucky person who just got some new dogs? Is it the owner, which the owner is always long gone, so there's no way you can find out the owner? But is there any kind of, procedure or rules that are different for these dropped off dogs? I mean, people were good if they got dropped off at their property and they were kind enough to pick them up, and if they didn't wanna keep them, they brought them to the animal shelter, but who's then, you know, I don't.
It's an abandoned animal, so they need to call the shelter and either bring it in, cause it's basically a stray. I mean, can you prove it was abandoned? I guess there's if a stray
That's a
shows
good
up on
point.
your property, whether it was abandoned by an owner or whether it just came by itself, they need to call
Right.
the animal shelter to pick it up as a stray, and then it is our responsibility.
So then it becomes the shelter's responsibility.
Yeah, because if they keep it, I mean, if they decide to keep that animal, if that animal is there for whatever the time allowed is, you know, usually if it's there for more than 24 hours or a few days, it's considered now it's your problem.
Okay.
That person that has the property, but usually people will call us and we'll just either come get it or take it,
Okay.
As soon as they notice it, but I mean, if
as
it's,
soon as they notice it.
Okay, so the next thing I'm wondering is, what's up with the new committee? Did you guys make any decisions? Is it gonna be
No.
county board members or?
Right now, it's, the thing that was passed, we had to change the ordinances and one of the sections, it calls for 5 board members,
And so then there's a process that you'll fill it by the next
Right.
meeting.
right,
Okay, so that brings me to my other thing. Mr. Coggins.
Yes, ma'am.
What you witnessed today is a very typical meeting that has been going on for a couple years. And, you can sort that out in your own mind, however you wanna sort that out, but I don't think anybody can deny that it was a very typical meeting. You saw how many open complaints there are. What did Don say? Are there,
I have 31 complaints, and 23 are open. I just added 2 more this morning, obviously, cause I didn't.
okay,
there
and
was-
you also saw the list of the animals at the animal shelter. Dawn is the animal control officer, part-time, and she runs the animal shelter part-time. Those are 2 different entities, 2 different purposes, 2 different situations. We have been begging for another full-time person at the shelter. And I think that you saw today how desperately that woman needs help. And so I am hoping that when that ever goes in front of the county board again, that you strongly consider it, understanding now what happens on a day-to-day basis and a monthly basis, how much more help is needed. And I know, again, by sitting through county board member meetings, that it's dismissed, oh, those are just animals. They're not animals. The situation at the pound, those are people problems, those aren't animal problems. And people problems are a lot harder to solve than animal problems. And that's why we need somebody who is totally competent to handle it. And that's why it takes so long to handle it, because you have to do it according to the rules. You know, in the olden days, things were different. I'll just say it that way. You can imagine how they were different. But it always comes down to people problems, and then you get time involved, laws involved. And so I'm gonna say in front of everybody, and please put this, would you please consider being on the animal shelter? And if you don't wanna be on the animal shelter, we can surely understand. It's a overwhelming situation. But if you don't wanna be on the animal shelter committee, please be supportive in our budgets and our strong need for staff. An overwhelmingly serious need for more staff. Because when you get how many open complaints and how many animals, then people get riled up, and we have meetings like this, which have been going on for a couple years. And why this affects me is Friends of the Animal Shelter, we're just trying to take care of the animals, raise money to build more room, and people laugh at me when I ask if they'll give money to the animal shelter. You know, that we have a core group of people that give money. We have, and they kind of put all this trashiness behind them. And because they're really concerned about the animals. But most people, mostly they come back at me and say, yeah, I follow on Facebook, what the heck's going on with that animal shelter? I'm reading in the paper, but, you know, why would I give my money to an organization that is so in chaos? And so, you know, if we want the Friends of the Animal Shelter and private citizens to donate, we need to do better going forward. And we need the help of the county board to do that, to do better, and to have civil meetings that aren't screaming matches at each other, and meetings that are actually, we're solving problems. That's what the Friends needs in order to get serious about bringing in donations. So please consider, if you don't wanna be on the animal shelter, at least supporting us. on those issues because you saw it firsthand what goes on at these meetings and how overwhelmed that woman is. And I've been involved in the shelter since before we had kids. And this is the best person we have ever had. And every person that we've had running the shelter has gotten better. That's like 40 years, it's going slow. But we finally have somebody that's really competent, but is totally overwhelmed. So please do what you can to help us. Okay, and that, unless anybody has any questions of what we're doing, we just sold a couple more signs. I'll hit you up for some signs from the fence, and we're anxious to be able to move forward and get some positive things done out at that shelter.
How did you turn out with the potted plant or the Christmas?
Well, you know what, that is Mary Heath, and
Right.
she is she's the one that's feeding the spay neuter fund.
Oh,
and
okay,
so,
that was
yeah.
more spay neuter rather
Yeah,
than friends,
yeah,
gotcha.
rather than
Yep.
us. And, I would guess she did well, I don't know, but I haven't heard specifically.
I think it was the most plants or most, porch pots she's had yet.
You know, I hope that you guys all buy a porch pot, or at least, donate the cost of the porch pot, I always get a couple, and, so, anyway, that's it.
Can I ask a question? Terry, the county board did pass the resolution, did they not, to hire, or, I'm sorry, not to hire, but to change the part-time employee to a full-time employee? That was passed. Is that moot now because, the
No.
city was not willing to pay? But that is still, on the books or whatever.
I think, it's my understanding that it's still on the books.
Still on the books, and,
It's
so
a matter of
we have
funding it.
appropriated 60%. But the city refused to
Right.
kick in the 40.
And now it's, well.
And it wasn't in the 25 budget.
Well, it was, but it was taken out.
Yes,
You're right.
was it?
You're right.
It
You're
was,
right.
but it
To
was
meet,
taken
to
out.
meet the budget, it was taken.
Well,
Yeah.
right, I mean, because we cut stuff, Dawn cut stuff out of the budget, and that wasn't one of the things she wanted to cut, but, yes, it was in the budget.
That's
It was cut out mainly because the city wasn't going to pay their share, and so it's not in the budget for 2025, but
Is there a deadline then that has to be acted upon, hired before it have to go back to be voted on again?
well,
If that makes sense.
I may be wrong in this, but as far as I'm concerned, I think it's still on the books that that position to become full-time is still been approved. It's the funding
Right.
that is the problem.
I think
And
it would
with
be
the
pending funding,
tight
wouldn't it?
budget things, and then with having roughly $60,000 added onto the budget because the city isn't paying their portion, that increased, the deficit, if you will. So,
And that was just without the full-time worker, the 16,000, right?
right, because we had it in the budget, it was given to the city in the budget and everything, and then that got turned down. I'm trying to think, was that a year ago? We had it in the budget, but, again, for that position, and the original budget had it in, but then, like I say, that got taken out as a cost-cutting measure. And,
Did the board vote on it like in February, I think it was, this last year, or this year?
oh, you mean to approve it originally?
Yeah.
I think it's before then, because I went to the city council and everything too, and they would do it. So then it came back to the county board, if the board, well, yeah, you may be right, it probably could have been February or March, April, in that time.
It-
And then it was,
Later than that, cause I was on the board when that,
so it'd have to have been
After
April.
after April.
And so then, right, because when you came on, the county approved, the budget for 2024 had already been approved. And so when we brought this up and it got approved in 2024, in the beginning, before your time, it wasn't in the budget, but the county board had voted to take it out of contingency.
That's right, yeah.
And then it went to the city, and the city said no to pay their 40%. So then it came back to the county board to pay the city's portion
The whole 100%.
of that 40%, 100% of the 40%, right? And that would have been less than that because this was already in April, May, and that's when you came on. I think it's probably your first meeting or second meeting. And the county board, I really don't think understood the issue, and they voted no, not to pay the city's portion so that we could get it done. And so it's been dead ever since, and then we put it in for 2025's budget, but like I say, that got cut. But I think the position still has been approved, as far as I know, and it's still in, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it would have to be reintroduced, Terry, because I would think that when the board had voted to not approve funding the whole thing,
Well, that was,
after the city refused to,
the board voted not to approve paying the city portion.
right,
And I don't know if the position still has been approved, no funding source.
I don't know,
Totally redone.
We got.
more research for you.
But,
You have to reread the resolution, so you can do.
right, so, don't know.
So how is the animal shelter,
Yeah,
how's the animal shelter gonna survive with, just when they run out of money, they close the doors, or what?
well, I think the long-term goal is there's only 3 or 4 animal shelters in the state that are run by a county.
No, I'm talking about this year, 2025, when we run out of money.
Well, we do have the,
Oh, with the donation, the 80,000 or whatever.
yeah, that was for the city or which was, when they figured the new budget, and that was turned down, and then it says the city will only pay 60,000.
No, I'm talking about the donations that, Jamie was gonna take. If we didn't use them up last year, this year, Jamie had said that she'd take them just give it to the county. I think
Oh,
those
no,
donations.
that is totally
No.
unethical.
No, I know it is, no, but I'm wondering if that's the money, where the money could come out of to run it anymore.
Well,
Once we run out
no,
of funds.
No,
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 it cannot come out of the gift fund because
That's
that,
what I'm saying.
oh, that's
or
what
the
you-
building
right, yeah,
fund,
because
or the
that's-
spay neuter fund.
that is for special projects or needs of the animal shelter, and an operating expense is not a special need or operating, in my opinion.
And it's not taxpayer money.
And, that's why that one line that we mentioned, when we went through the financial report, to people donate money for operations. That's why when they get a donation, they have to specify whether it's for the gift fund, the spay neuter,
Or the
or-
building fund.
or the building fund,
that
or operations.
Yes.
It must be specified. If it's for operations, then it goes into that one account that we talked about.
I'm just curious, just what if the shelter would close, what would happen to that money? Gift fund money, all that stuff.
We'll a little worried about that,
Just-
if that happens. The thing, the long-term goal, should we say, or something, is for the county not to be running an animal shelter, that the, 501c3 organization or a private foundation, and that, because that's the way most of the animal shelters are in the state of Wisconsin. Like I say, there's.
That's your goal.
Well, I
That isn't
think-
our goal.
I think it's the county's goal too, that the county should be out of it. Because it's just like, for years they ran the hospital and they really didn't wanna be running a hospital either, and they finally got out of that.
And they should be, because that's the biggest, don't get me started on what happened out there, because the county wouldn't keep going.
But again, the animal shelter is not something that the county wants to run. Again, most of the state, there's only 2 or 3 other, like I say, counties that run an animal shelter.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion.
Right, but just to say that the goal is to get 501c3 or whatever, and that independent can move forward and.
So we
then-
still didn't answer the 2025 issue. When Dawn's out of money, there's no
Well,
money to pay her,
We shouldn't be out of money.
we shouldn't be out of money?
No.
I don't think, yeah, I don't.
They're
know if
levying the
they're
rest of the
being,
money.
We might be out of money.
Okay, okay, that's what I wanna know.
And again, that's what some of the donations are, if they do it for operations, that goes in that one line. I think we've had this discussion before, if people say, I wanna donate to the animal shelter, I wanna give dog food, well, we don't show a line donation for dog food, it goes into that operation thing. If they want to specifically give dog food, then you buy a 50-pound bag of dog food, bring it to the
I
shelter and
understand.
give it to them.
I
Yep.
understand.
So, you know that, but, you know, we're always willing to take contributions, right, Tyler? So, okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, our next meeting date is January 16th, 2025, at 8:30. And just the last thing is to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. And we are adjourned at 10:45.
Not too much eggnog.
Thank you for coming. Oh, we can't see all the snow.
You wouldn't have to know if you had about what dogs and dogs.
You can eat that.
There's one that's roaming on,
That's
he's
dumb.
building and,
I mean, took vacation day, not planning on being here, but I had calls that,
They had two dogs tied up, one dog was in a little dog, one was in a kennel, one was tied up by the kennel. They had at least 3 big dogs. It's,
Yeah.
State Street South and.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw this the other day.